After more than 3 years of political uncertainty, the departure of 2 prime ministers and dozens of furious protests across the United Kingdom, Brexit is finally happening. Britain finally becomes the first ever country to leave the European Union after 47 years of membership. A clock counting down to the moment the UK leaves the EU will be projected onto Downing Street as part of the government's plans to mark what's being called Brexit Day. The clock will tick down to 2300 GMT, while Prime Minister Boris Johnson will give a special address to the nation.
Consider questions of this magnitude.
For some, it's a moment that cannot come soon enough, and for others, it's something that they hoped they would never see. As lawmakers prepare for the final countdown, Brussels paid an emotional farewell to its former member and soon-to-be former member. The mayor of Brussels arranged for the city's Grand Palace to be lit up in the Union flag's red, white and blue colours. A band of bagpipers also marched through the square sporting various means of performance and flying the flag of St. Andrew. The European Parliament witnessed an emotional session as the British members participated in their last vote. Emotional scenes and farewell that was witnessed. Right after the session, a number of members of the European Parliament and former members and campaigners all joined together and marked the moment through a small ceremony right outside the European Parliament with a set of Scottish bagpipes.
Hi, good to see you. And good to see you.
Let's go straight across now to our London Bureau Chief, Mandy Clark, who's joining us for more on that. Mandy, this is a moment that we've been talking about for the longest time. 3 years of political uncertainty finally coming to an end. Bring us up to speed with the latest on the ground and the arrangements that have been put in place.
Well, yes, it feels like finally the end, but really in many ways it's the beginning. So today is Brexit Day here, the day that Britain formally leaves the EU. There will be some celebrations for those who really wanted Brexit, and that will happen around 9 o'clock. The Prime Minister is going to hold a small party. At 10 o'clock, he will have a video message that will address the nation about this historic day. Of course, half the population didn't really want Brexit. There'll be a march around 3 o'clock morning leaving the EU. There has been video displays against the White Cliffs of Dover, having World War II veterans talk about their devastation about leaving Europe and how proud they were to call themselves European and their hopes that their grandchildren will yet again be called European. So it is a very divided issue still. Because of that, there is no kind of triumphant celebrations. There was plans at one point. The Prime Minister wanted the bongs of Big Ben to sound at 11 o'clock. That's not going to happen because there's restoration work that is happening. So the triumphalism isn't going to happen, but certainly there'll be celebrations by one side and mourning by the other side. But in many ways, it's the beginning because there's big trade deals that have to get passed now in less than a year. And that is the big question. Can the government get trade deals through that are acceptable to the European Union? The European Union has said that that Britain will not have such a close relationship and slid into isolation, and the best deal is as a member. So they're not going to make that negotiations very easy.
Right, and like you said, it's in a way just a beginning as far as more uncertainty is concerned and could be on the horizon. Many have already spoken about the far-reaching implications also in terms of its impact on the UK economy, and several experts that you have been interacting with as well have said that the next few days and weeks could involve a lot more volatility on that front.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we did see a bounce in the economy when Boris Johnson was elected, because then there was certainty, and what markets hate is uncertainty. How Brexit goes, those negotiations, that's going to cause a lot of volatility. So we can expect that the economy will go into flux for not just the days and weeks, but possibly months, until it's very clear how Britain's future will look like. And that won't be decided until possibly the end of this year, and that's if Boris Johnson gets this complex trade deal through. So we can expect a lot more volatility for Britain's economy in the next year.
Absolutely. We're going to leave it there for the moment. Mandy, appreciate you joining us with all those updates, but of course keep coming back to you over the next few hours. Now, Britain is finally ending that nearly 5-decade-long relationship with the European Union. Let's break down for you what the implications of that departure broadly will be. First, let's understand what Brexit is. The term, of course, refers to British exit or the UK departing from the European Union. Remember, the UK voted in favour of Brexit in 2016. It had entered the Eurozone in 1973 and has now become the first member state to leave the bloc. Brexit now will be followed by a transition period, which will see months of negotiations between Brussels and London on the future course of the relationship. The transition period will end on the 31st of December 2020. Interestingly, the UK will continue to follow the EU regulations during this transition period. The two sides need to deliberate further on the exact functioning of that arrangement. Law enforcement, data sharing, security-related issues, aviation standards, safety, a lot of those sticking points still remain. They will also be holding discussions on access to fishing waters, supply of electricity and gas, licensing issues, as well as regulation of medicinal supplies.